Bass&Beats is a very versatile groove box, so it can do a lot of different styles. For example, let's go to the patterns. And this is the first pattern you will hear. You always have to press OK to load. But that's not all it can do. You can also go, for example, for some good drum bass stuff. Or let's take this one. Or let's take some house stuff, for example. Or some electro stuff. For example, the 128 patterns are not all full. The first 32 are full. These are not full. And now if I play this one, I can, for example, via function and then copy the pattern, or select the drums, copy the pattern, then select pattern, go to a pattern which is empty. So this is empty, say function paste, and now the pattern is in here. Now I go to function save, say OK, and it's saved. And what's very special about it is the way you can program a pattern, because if you want to record in real time, that's no problem. For example, go for a bass. These are the basses, and you can make some simple adjustments here. And then, for example, record something, but you can also go for a different pattern length. Say function pattern for bass. This is the length, is now 16. Turn it up to 64. And that means if you play now, it switches here to the second 16, third or fourth 16, and then starts from the beginning. But what's even more fun is that if you want to program a pattern in non-real-time mode, you hit record and then you can go through the steps. And let's say you want to get rid of some of them, you just hit them while they're playing, because you can see them all at once. So there's a snare. This is playing, and this is also playing. And when I hit it, it's off for that step. So if I want to make something different for this step, I can also go into parameter recording and then tune it. And you can hear this is a different tuning for the snare now. Also, if you play it, you can adjust the volumes. So this is the length of the snare, this is the volume, and this is the bass volume. So whenever you're playing, you can, within the session, change the volume of the different parts of drums, bass, and of kick, snare, hats as groups, and all the rest as groups. And if you want to go more into detail, you can go into an edit mode, and there you can see, for example, for the bass, you go into the bass mode and then hit function memory. So now I'm in edit mode. And I can edit quite a lot of stuff. But even if I'm out of this edit mode, so leave it again and just play the bass, choose a different one, for example. I still have quite some adjustments I can make, or machine gun effect. These are all just sound edits for the bass. So it's all very compact, and also there's effects in here. You can choose lots of different effects, add lots of different other stuff, but that's just the basics. You can connect it via MIDI and save things with a MIDI dump. You have separate in and outs for line and a phones out. You have a built-in speaker and you can turn it off here. You have a built-in metronome. You can turn up the volume of the metronome. You have undo and redo. I hardly ever saw that on a machine like that. Plus you have some ducking options, so you're routing the drums to the bass channel to duck them. And you have sync IOs, and it can all be run with batteries which you put in here. So it's very light, feels a little bit like a toy, but has a lot of functions. So what this thing can do is really give you the fun when you're sitting on the sofa. You don't want to search for some power jacket or a headphone. You can just play with it, and it's quite cheap, so everyone can afford it, I guess.